Hello, party people. Welcome back to another NRW review video. I am your host with the most, Mr. David Estacado, and I'm here with my buddy from Another Nutty, the one and only. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rob, the movie guy here, and thank you very much for joining us here today because we've got a review here for you today. We're reviewing the new DC animated film that just got released here, Justice League Dark Apokolips War. Now, before we get into our thoughts, let's roll the trailer here real quick.
Hit it.
Justice League. We are facing an existential threat to the planet. Our only option is to destroy Darkseid.
Bow before me.
A global war means everyone on the planet is at risk.
You're gullible fools. Darkseid is playing you.
The humans earned their fate.
I know you hate me, but I wouldn't be here if it wasn't necessary.
I'm completely on your side now.
No more planning. Just do it.
We can't quit. The Justice League doesn't quit.
And man, they do not hold back. They're letting you know this is it. And what a film. Rob, I told you about the film. Yeah. I was like, dude, you have to check it out. You have to watch it. And you were kind of hesitant. You were like, nah, I'll watch it eventually. And once I started letting you know a little bit about the plot and what was going into, because I left some stuff out just to surprise you.
Yeah. I
told you shit was going to get crazy, and it went in heavy.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Well, so just like you said it here, my experience with the DC animated films have been kind of like hit and miss for me, so I wasn't always that in tune with everything that was going on here. In fact, I didn't even know that this was actually the final film of this whole universe that they were building, which I didn't. Right, so I didn't know that until you explained that to me. So once you said that, and then it said about that this is going to be like the final film, and then just shit hits the fan, and they just don't hold back. I was like, okay, well that sounds interesting, and then you started to get a little more into the plot, and you left some things out that I'm so glad you did, because once I saw the film, I was like, oh, this is no joke. This is really, really good. And I mean, let's just get into it because they left no stone unturned here, because they wrecked everybody here. Because the big thing here is that they're meeting. They're having a major war with Darkseid here, and you get the impression it's going to kind of be like this Avengers Endgame type of thing. No, this is what Endgame couldn't do. And what DC Animated has done here, they were just like, oh, you love your superheroes? Yeah. See their heads get ripped off now. And and you also like Wonder Woman too? Yeah, her arm gets ripped off too as well. Yeah, how do you like that? Oh, you like Superman? Yeah, we're going to inject him with kryptonite here. How do you like that? And I was like, holy crap, these guys are really not holding back with any of this. And the violence in this film, I did not expect it. When you told me, I was like, okay, this is probably going to be just more like PG-13 type of where the arm gets ripped off, and you kind of get like a shot of them from the facial perspective, like, oh, they're in pain, and that's about it. No, they go all out. And Jon Stewart meets his demise. Hal Jordan is pretty much done for before he didn't even get a single word in the film. That's how much they figure like, well, Green Lantern, yeah, there he is. He's dead right there. How do you like that? It's just they lay the law down on these guys. And Darkseid, dude, this guy was amazing this film. But I definitely want to start getting into some of the bigger things the bigger highlights of the film here, because apart from the plot itself, which was fantastic here, I got to say though, the main thing about this film that I love is the characters. I absolutely love a lot of these characters that I was familiar with here, but they are the highlights here of the film. They're actually the main stars of the film here, because you would think that Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, they would be like the three main figures here. They're actually taking a back seat here, and I'm glad they did that here, because you've already got enough time with them in other films that they've released throughout this whole franchise here, and it was nice to see them take the back seat. Because you've already given them all the time in the world for you to get acquainted with these characters in this universe here. But then all
the way they did it was fantastic. They set it up to they have no choice but to set up the story for the characters they're going to put to the back burner lately. And in the way they set it up, you kind of see, like you said, you see that big moment where all the previous characters you've seen throughout the 15 movies come together for this briefing and for this war, thinking they're ready to take on Darkseid. And shit hits the fan real quick.
Yeah.
You see just, that whole plan that they had everything set just doesn't work at all.
Yeah, and this is the very beginning of the movie, too.
It's just like the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. That was surprising, which I was like, really?
You see the major power players, the major hitters just get wrecked. You see Wonder Woman get taken out. You see, all these other great characters you see kind of taken off in middle sequence in such effective manner. Nightwing, the Bat family, Shazam just gets ripped apart. Poor kid. Yeah. And then your major heavy hitters like Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, Hawkman.
Poor Martian Manhunter. I was like, dude, not Martian.
Just get demolished in the first 10 minutes of the film, letting you know that the stakes were high, and it really shows the ravages of the circumstances of dealing with Darkseid and trying to take him out. Like, they knew the sacrifices were going to be made, but they had no idea what was coming. And perfectly set up the movie to set up for these other characters to come back. And that's just the first half of the movie.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of these characters here. For me, one of the biggest highlights in the film, and quite frankly, one of if not the best part of the film, John Constantine. I know they've introduced this character, I believe, first through Justice League Dark, if I'm not mistaken, right? And I was already familiar with the character here before from the Constantine film that starred Keanu Reeves back in 2005, I believe, and of course there's that television serial that came a few years back, and then they brought that character back through the Legends of Tomorrow, the whole Arrowverse thing here. So I was already familiar with the character then, but seeing him in this particular world here, where you really truly get the true essence of this character here, especially in this film, because there's some stuff about this character that I was not privy to that I want to get into as well as one of the highlights of the film. They show that not only is this guy a very powerful character, but he's also a very, what's the word I want to use? He's a troublemaker, but when he starts trouble, it's always keeping things moving forward. And that's the one thing about this film that I love that they showcase in this film here. And talk about the destruction of the Justice League here. I was wondering that what's going to happen next here? And then as the story unravels here, you realize that John Constantine is the key to this entire universe. And when you find out what happens towards the end, which we'll get into here, I was like, dude, this guy's really awesome. Like, I really hope that this is going to be the starting point for this character to go into other areas of media here with not just with the TV show, but in film, but to do it to do it right this time. Not to say that Constantine, the film, didn't do it right. They got the attitude of the character, but there's more to him than what you saw in the film. And in this particular medium here with the animated films, they really show you like what this guy is truly capable of doing and how much of a badass he really, really is. And this film really just seals everything up, because without him, this film would have never worked, I thought, because what could you do with a character, not having a character like him in this film here? I mean, I don't know if you want to add on to that there, because like I said, this guy stole the show here for me. And I think I found a new comic book character that I'm really gonna get into here, because this introduction of the character in this universe blew my mind away. The character's a lot cooler than I ever really anticipated here. As you can tell right now, like, I'm excited because this guy is really, really that cool. Anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, like the first half was just kind of showing shit hitting the fan, and then the second part of the movie just kind of goes into the aftermath and how a lot of the heroes are blaming Superman because it was his idea to strike head on, and why everything went to shit. and then John Constantine is the one who blames himself because he ran, he left.
Yeah. Which is odd because he's not the type of guy to do that from what you've seen in the other films. Like he's always the first guy to come out and face trouble head on. So that was kind of caught me by surprise as well too. But there was a reason for that as well.
Yeah, because there's a build up. You kind of see, like we said earlier, you kind of see more of a character building and relationship building between Zatanna and Constantine and some of the other characters. And once the story goes on, he's kind of sought out to like, hey, look, you're kind of our last chance to try to make things right. You got to help us.
Yeah.
And the way they find him is fantastic. Of course, John Constantine way, he's in London, drunk at a bar, chilling with Etrigan, and they're both just passed out drunk at a bar.
Oh man.
And Etrigan is the other
highlight in the film too.
Of this film.
So, a lesser known character as well too, which is beautiful about this film. The characters that most people are not don't know outside of the comic world here. Man, look at this guy. Like, who the hell is this guy here? But man, they do a great job in really showcasing what this guy is really capable of doing. And if you've seen some of the other films as well too, you know a bit of his background, and then you see his cadence where he's always rhyming and he's always coming up with something smart to say to fit the rhyming that is required for him to speak for whatever the scenario may be. And here he's like dropping all that around. He's all talking, straight drunkenness, and he's just being a smart ass, and he's a really good guy too, despite all that that gruffness that he portrays here. But dude, this guy was awesome, and the way he meets his demise, you would consider it being sad in some situations here, but the way he goes out in this film, I thought was like honorable because it was fitting for the character,
and he came full circle, but to see them grow from that position and kind of get these plans started going. Because speaking of his interactions, they end up leading up to get to reaching Damian Wayne and trying to seek his help and trying to get back towards the Apokolips. So you have like these three different storylines going on. You have the whole situation with pretty much Doom. Darkseid has completed, decimated the Earth. He's taken over. So he has all these, Parademon Doomsday mashups kind of taking over.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who decimated the rest of the Justice League. So they're trying to figure out how to get back to Apokolips, trying to, get Batman, because if anybody can save everybody, it's got to be Batman. But Batman's taken over by Darkseid.
Yeah, so he's basically like the right-hand man to Darkseid, which I thought was a smart thing to do because I was like, of course, that makes sense. It's Batman. Darkseid knows how valuable he is, and he certainly puts him to good use here. So, yeah, I'm sorry. You were saying, though, because I just wanted to point that out because that was an awesome thing.
It was a great move because it kind of shows some all right, of all the people Darkseid has, he has to have that guy, and that just makes things raises the stakes. Because as the movie goes on, the stakes just go higher and higher, and that's one of the stakes that they have to figure out how they're going to take care of it. So then you meet up with the whole with Lex Luthor, kind of his characterization was kind of being kind of sneaky here and there.
Yeah.
But he's was also a key component of why the rebels were able to kind of succeed,
infiltrate in there. Yeah.
And try to find a weakness to Darkseid.
Yeah.
So you have all these stories going on, along with Raven trying to hold back her dad the entire time, and her action with Damian. So you have like these three interlocking stories, but the main focus is just John Constantine's
leadership, if you will.
Leadership,
or lack thereof, but
throughout the situation. But man, does it culminate to just intense moment after intense moment after intense moment.
Yeah, because I wanted to bring out something too. Not to jump ahead here, but the way everything closes up here, it's a bittersweet ending here. And like I said, John Constantine being the key here, but it's one of those things where I can't see it ending any other way now because the way things had turned out. I mean, it almost leaves you no other choice but to end it the way that it did. Which leaves it to question about what they're going to be doing moving forward now. But I know I'm jumping ahead here, but you brought something up.
A little bit. We'll get to that point.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But I just thought that was it was important to highlight that John Constantine, knowing what he had to do and knowing what needed to be done to get this done right, some major sacrifice had to be, because that was always one of his major themes in some of his films, is the sacrifice. That, you know, when you commit a major act, there's always going to be a sacrifice at the end, that something has to be taken away, and that's something that's going to be taken away, something that's so valuable. And they were highlighted in those films, and I didn't think about it before until watching this film, and even thinking about it after the fact. I was like, you know what? There's a common theme for Constantine that they've already established here that was very prevalent, especially towards the end here. And that was one of the beautiful aspects about the character that I love, that everyone had a theme, and the theme served a purpose to close out the film here. So, I mean,
you see it come up throughout the movie. You see that, you know, he even mentions it to Raven. Like, if you really want to do this, there's a sacrifice for this. You're gonna have to, you know, especially holding back her the power of her dad, Trigon. And then like the sacrifice of Lois and the rest of the Suicide Squad. And can we talk about that? Them getting together with the Suicide Squad, and then John Constantine's reaction to like.
Let's talk about that, because this won't caught me by surprise here, because so they meet up with the Suicide Squad at some abandoned warehouse, I believe it was. That there's like a fight going on. I think Lois Lane was fighting somebody. I'm not sure who it was. Anyways, it was Harley Quinn. I'm sorry. So she was fighting Harley Quinn. There was a sequence. There's a part in that introduction there where John Constantine walks in. I forgot who was standing next to him. It might have been Raven or somebody else. I can't remember. And he was like, "Oh no, it's my ex." And the person next to him was like, "Who? Her?" And he's like, "No, the other one." Yeah, because he was pointing at. They were pointing at Harley. He's like, "No, the other one." And I was like, "Which other person is he talking about?" Thinking of a woman. It was King Shark. And I was like, "King Shark's a dude." And I was like, Oh shit! And then you see King Shark like winking at John, and I was like, "Oh my god, they really went there," because I forgot that the character of John Constantine is pretty much like a pansexual? I think is the terminology, right?
Yeah.
He will sleep with anything. Well, I wouldn't say anything, but with anyone that he has an attraction to, and for whatever reason, he had an attraction to King Shark, and they slept with each other. And I'm thinking, I'm really happy that they took that direction of the character. They don't focus on it, but they definitely brought it to the audience attention there. And you realize, okay, this guy's very promiscuous here, and they're not afraid to hold back. I'm so glad.
It's John Constantine. What you expect?
So, I think that's a wonderful form of storytelling here, that you don't focus on that too much. You just bring it out just enough to get people to realize, you can trust the guy, but you can also trust that he's very sneaky about what he does, because he's full of surprise. And this is one of those moments where I was genuinely surprised and shocked.
Speaking of highlights, John Constantine was a highlight. Etrigan was a highlight. Seeing the Suicide Squad kind of wreck shit and kind of like hold their own was a highlight.
Captain Boomerang was great. Yeah.
Even when they were getting, the little small moments of them kind of taking out some of the Paradooms.
Yeah.
And then them being taken out themselves, like you're like, yeah, you're rooting for them, and then like, oh, there goes Manta being split in half. All right, there goes Bane. All right, well, at least he died going out, like a badass. Even though they were being, killed off. Yeah. You felt that emotional impact, like, you were hoping for them to make it through.
Yeah.
And like to have them see themselves sacrifice themselves so that Damian and Raven can make it to Apokolips with these weapons and stuff in order to take out Darkseid was just fantastic. And then having Lois in the middle of this, while Superman, because you talk about sacrifice, talking about that the ending, how eventually this whole situation kind of culminates to Trigon eventually just being released. And
one of the biggest highlights of the film, I gotta say, man, because I did not expect that at all. Seeing Trigon, who's essentially the devil, really, right? I mean, isn't
one of the demons, or
Yeah. I'm not too familiar with his background, but apparently, from what I understood, he's pretty much like the devil, who is basically the most powerful being out there outside of one of the new gods. And having him go against Darkseid like that, he's like, "Oh, you must be a new god. That's the best you can do." And I was like, "Oh shit, this is Satan saying this to Darkseid." And he's fighting up, and I was like, "Holy crap!"
Those are two separate characters in the DC universe, but Trigon is another entity. But seeing that was fantastic, and then the crazy part is just like how it just kept escalating. All right, so now we're dealing with Darkseid.
Yeah.
Now on top of Darkseid, we're dealing with Trigon, and then Trigon thinks he can be sneaky. No, he ends up overtaking Superman. She's taking care of Trigon's Superman.
Yeah.
And he just starts wrecking freaking Darkseid until he finally sees that Lois sacrificed herself, and that helps.
Superman outside of that possession there, yeah.
And it snaps out Bruce as well.
True. Well, the Bruce got snapped out because of his of him almost killing his son Damien in the one-on-one they had over in Apokolips there, and that's what eventually snapped him out of that trance that he was under.
And man, what an emotional moment that was!
Yeah,
very Mortal Kombat, like Darkseid finish him. Like, oh, okay,
oh yeah, kill him, and then all of a sudden Bruce is like, no, and yeah, so that was yeah. So, I mean, so let's talk about the ending here, because everything that's leading up to this here is pretty much coming to one major sacrifice, which is the fact that a lot of the characters that did survive, most of them died in battling all the Paradooms and battling Darkseid.
Oh, they got brought back as a fury for Darkseid, including Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter, Hawkgirl, Hawkman. They were pretty much brought back as robotic fury versions of themselves. They were used against the team. And they just think the themes like sacrifices and stuff like that general theme kept coming up a lot. And
Right.
John Constantine was going to sacrifice himself in order to help everybody escape, but it came up to Cyborg sacrificing himself and pretty much teleporting himself, Darkseid,
Flash.
and Trigon.
Flash was there too. Don't forget. Yeah, he was an integral part of this here too.
Yeah, because he was kind of the energy source for Apokolips. But at the end of the movie, you see that Cyborg teleports these guys off to Oblivion.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, they're like, Apokolips pretty much wrecked Earth. He wrecked us. I mean, what else are we gonna do?
Yeah, because he took out a good 70% of the Earth's molten lava or something like that, and that pretty much left Earth unsustainable to carry life at this point.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you were going to get into something that I wanted us to kind of touch upon here. What were you going to say next?
Just to like how it culminates into like, well, what are we going to do now? We could try to, we're the Justice League. We could try to, stabilize the Earth. There's not much we can do. And it comes back to, the whole movie series started with Flashpoint. And it kind of ends on this note of somewhat a Flashpoint situation where Constantine talks to Flash and is like,
you got to go back in time.
He's like, Flash, like the last time I did it, I messed it up. It's got to be better than we have now, man.
Yeah. And that's a wonderful, that's a really kind of a, it's a very ambiguous ending here, because you don't know what's going to happen, and you assume based upon what you saw in the very first film in the Flashpoint Paradox, he goes back to save his mother, and then everyone's life has been altered drastically from him going back in time to change the timeline here, and to the point where he ended up losing his powers along the way as well too, because the Flash was never created in that particular timeline there. So there was a lot of things that had changed, but it got changed for the worse. But in comparison to what they're dealing with right now and what they're left with here, you're left to wonder, was that as bad as you thought it was in comparison to what they go through now? And if the Flash knew the consequences of what he has done, can he do something different this time around that could alter it for the better? You're left to wonder with that there, because that was a beautiful thing about the story, is that it ends with this uncertainty, but you think, is it going to get better, from what it was the first film to where we are right now with this film here? And I think that was one of the most daring endings I have ever seen for a film, at least a film of this type of genre with superheroes. And it made sense. And, I want to put something out here too, that's a major highlight here for me. The film is only 90 minutes long. I felt a lot more connection with these characters than most films that are 2 hours, 2.5 hours long. And of course, in the course of a number of films, you definitely develop those connection there. But at least in this particular film, the characters that you felt the most connection with here had the most to sacrifice, that suffered the most here. And when they what they went through, you really felt it there because what the people that made this film were able to convey here with these characters trying to show their emotions and showing their distraughtness and their happiness and then their sadness and all those emotions bundled into one film here. They did a great job, and I couldn't find any really major negatives with the film here, in terms of like how they really pace the story, because it goes through quick, and then when it does slow down, it doesn't take away from the film. It really just picks up the pace and at the proper timing there. But I mean, that's pretty much all. That's all I can really add on to the film. I thought it was worth it. It's quite possibly one of the best animated DC films I've ever seen, and there's been a few that I really loved, but this one really kind of just is up there for me. I don't know how I'd rank it because I have to watch all of them to really make that proper listing there.
Agreed. I'm pretty much agreed. And for me, like the highlights were the voice acting. I really enjoyed the voice acting.
Yeah, same here.
Pretty much an ensemble cast. You had Jerry O'Connor as Superman.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan, who will always be my Constantine. If there's going to be any more Constantine franchises, information, whatever media, have to be that man. Yeah. And in Rosario Dawson as Wonder Woman, she did a fantastic job. And the rest of the cast as well, like really, highlight these characters, bring these characters to life. Yeah. That's the only thing. I agree that it was a lot in that 90 minutes. I wish it would have gone a little longer.
I agree too. Yeah.
To highlight a little bit more action, or a little bit more from a Suicide Squad. Not to just bring them in and just take them out so quick.
It went out with a bang, though. That's for sure.
It did. And speaking of the action sequences, they did not let up on these action sequences. The fight scenes were amazing, and even peppered with a little bit of lightheartedness in between until the end, where it got really emotional. Like it was just the crescendo was there. Like you're dealing with the fight with Darkseid, you're dealing with Trigon, you're dealing with Superman, and they're like John Constantine's like, what the heck am I gonna do? And and at the end you find out that he was a contingency plan the entire time. Now we left some stuff out because there's so much going on at the same time. You have to watch this movie to kind of get the full effect of what we're talking about. If you haven't seen the movie, you have to go see it. And I think it's a great film. I one of the best.
Yep.
I think out of all the franchises, and I think you're right. The only real negative part is probably just the length of time, and maybe they could have added a little bit more to the story, or to kind of highlight a little bit more things. But overall, the pacing was great for a 90-minute movie.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too. And I'm just left wondering how they're going to move the story forward now, because obviously this is the final film of this universe, if you will, and it leaves you to wonder what can they do now. I'll say this here because I want to just get this out before we close this here. I don't think they should top what they've done here now, because you can't go any higher than that. I hope they really focus on more of the. Let's focus on the characters that were highlights at the end of this whole universe, and focus more on them. If you're going to take this whole story in a whole new direction with this whole new timeline, however they decide to do this here, let's focus on some of the secondary characters that most people are not familiar with here. John Constantine be a prime example of that. I think John Constantine should be like I guess for lack of a better term, the Batman of this new timeline they may go with here. Because if you focus on those characters here, Etrigan, who else you got? Zatanna, like those guys, Estrogen, yeah. So I kept saying that. Etrigan, whatever. Sorry, dude, but you were awesome in the film, but your name fucking sucks. So, anyways, I think that if they focus on those characters there and really highlight these characters and let the other primary heroes that everyone are familiar with take the backseat and slowly integrate them as the story progresses from there, I think that's the best way to go about it here, because now you don't have to worry about living up to what you've done before, but just take it a whole new direction. Focus on something new and let that build up. Take your time with that stuff. As long as you tell good, fascinating stories, you really got nothing to worry about there. Just make sure that the stories are great, of course. And I think you can really do something good and do something possibly better than what you've done before, because now you can take it to whole new directions here with characters like John Constantine, Zatanna. Like those were the very interesting characters that I was fascinated with in these other films here. And they were highlighted here in this film, but you never really get to see the full potential. You saw the potential, to a point, but to see their full potential, like the likes of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, that's what I think we should be focusing on more in these future films here. I mean, that's just my thoughts. And I don't know if you want to add on to that.
Dude, I loved it. I mean, it kind of left the door open for different possibilities. For me, I like how, for me, one of my favorite films, not out of this continuity, but just out of the DC animated movies, was Gods and Monsters, where they took these different takes of the different, what if Batman wasn't Bruce Wayne? What if it was Man-Bat who actually was Batman? What if Superman didn't land in the U.S.? He landed in somewhere else. What if Wonder Woman wasn't from Amazonia? Like that's Des Mascara. Wow, different show. Des Mascara. Like that's the kind
Notice
of
I didn't correct you.
That's kind of the direction I want to see. And speaking of the future, the head writer, the screenwriter, Ernie Attenbacher, he was like, I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, we're not going to see anything out of this continuity. He's like, well, you're not really losing anything. You're getting something new. And I'm like, it just pipes me up for what he has in store.
Yeah, same here.
If they can release another movie that's kind of like Gods and Monsters, kind of like a Elseworlds continuity of this continuity, and then build up from there to end in a kind of a rebirth situation, it'd be fantastic. And I think that's where it's kind of headed to, like either a rebirth continuity or just a whole different continuity altogether.
Yeah, I'm just excited about this as well too. But yeah, I don't have anything else to add to that here because really there's a lot that we left out that I think that people should just be prepared to watch here because there's some surprises that come along that I didn't expect. One of them are just more character surprises that I just didn't see coming here, and I was very happy to see that there because it wasn't just about the story was great though, but those moments in what these characters are really the highlights of the film, and then help propel the story moving forward there because once you get that closure, that bittersweet ending there kind of left me wondering like, man, John Constantine was awesome. Why did it have to end like this here? It couldn't have been another way. And then you realize, no, there couldn't have been. He knew that, and so did Batman. So, it's one of those things where everyone knew what the consequences were, and they knew the sacrifice had to be made as a result of that here too. So these are tough decisions to make here, and the people that were behind the story here did a great job in telling this story here and in closing it the way that they did because not to say that Marvel would never have the balls to do that, at least with their live action film. They kind of did with Avengers Endgame, but there was always, everyone's going to come back, guys, except for one person. But don't worry, we'll have another film coming out afterwards there, and you'll love it just as much. There's none of that here. It was all about this, close this out properly, and we'll leave the rest wondering what's going to happen next year because we have some.
And they did a fantastic job, especially wrapping up all these previous movies, showing what happens to all the other characters, the decimation of some of the characters, the way they get decimated to the point where like, all right, well, I mean, this is it. So that the whole timeline was pretty much deleted, and it's kind of, you're right, it's a bittersweet ending to just kind of finalize everything out for this continuity.
Yeah,
and I loved it. I liked it. It was really well done.
Yeah.
So that being said,
yeah.
Final thoughts.
I truly love this film. I thought it was one of the best DC animated films that I have come across here. But again, I haven't seen all of them, but this was definitely one of the better ones that I recall seeing that I truly, truly enjoyed from start to finish. I absolutely loved it here. So, and from my end over here, I just give this a solid high cheers because that film deserves that here. And I hope people will watch it and spread the good word there because we need more films like this, whether it be an animated film or even live action film. We need more films like that where they take risks like this and they don't hold back and saving face for, well, we can't kill Green Lantern because he's a popular character. We can't kill Batman because he's a popular character. No, kill him, but show the consequences of doing that there and why it was important to do it in the first place. This film does a great job at that. And understanding the importance of these characters too, why they kept them alive in the first place, because they had a certain value that was necessary for the villain here in this film. So it made sense. So it wasn't just some random thing. Well, we're going to keep Batman because everyone likes him. No. They kept Batman because Darkseid needed him, because he knew what he was capable of. Yeah. Those were really important factors there. So high cheers from my end. I mean, I'm sure you got some closing thoughts here too.
Fantastic film. Go see it. There were some debates online already comparing it to Endgame, comparing it to Infinity War. What I loved it. and I can't wait to see what else DC has coming up. It was
Same
a
here.
great film. Is it the best film? No. One of the
No.
best animated films? I
Yeah.
agree. Yes, it's up there with my personal favorites, The Red Hood,
That was a good one, yeah.
and Flashpoint.
Yes.
Were probably my favorites. And then and like some of the other ones, like of course Dark Knight, but that's not part of this continuity. But the DC animated films have been fantastic,
Yeah.
and this is one of the top notch ones. If you haven't seen it, go see it, watch it, rent it, buy it, stream it. Just go do it and support the rest of the movies that come out. And I agree.
Just own it.
High cheers on this.
Yeah.
One. This needs to go in your DC animated collection if you don't have it already.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But that's our thoughts of the film. What did you guys think? Do you guys agree with this? Did you hate it? Were you surprised that you haven't seen it yet? How we hyped you to go see it? Let us know in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think. And if you hated it, you hated it. Let us know. Do you agree with our views? Because, I mean, we know what we thought. What did you guys think? And if you want more videos, stick around. Rob, where can they find us if they want more information from us?
Well, you can follow us on social media here. You can always follow NRW on Instagram at New Release Wednesday. We also have a Facebook page at New Release Wednesdays there as well. On Twitter, we have here at the NRW. I almost forgot the NRW there. Be sure to follow us there. And since you're here on this channel here, be sure to subscribe down here and also like this this video as well and share it. Help us out here, spread the word, because we've got some new content coming up down the pipeline here, and we're really excited to get into that and share that all with you there as well. So we'll be sure to make sure that we announce that for everyone to be looking out for that as well. Yeah, and you can follow me here on social media. You can follow me on Facebook at Rob the Movie Guy. That's simple. And on Twitter, you can follow me at Rob Medina0585. And on Instagram, follow me at Rob_Medina0585. And you can follow my butt from another nutty on the right-hand side. Where can they follow you, sir?
You can follow me on my Instagram, on my Twitter, on David is Disaster, where I post random memes, movie quotes, stuff like that, and NRW stuff. And you can also follow me on my Facebook page for my wrestling, pop culture stuff, and anything else that I into as well at David A. Estacado on Facebook. And like I said, if you like, please hit like, subscribe, and until next time, cheers.
No way.